And I started thinking, wait a minute now, I actually owe my community. I actually owe my uncles and aunties who gave me all of that knowledge and that confidence and those gifts. I owe them that. Now that I know better, I got to find a way to return this. How do I return that? How do I make something like that that represents how blessed I am and where I'm from?
From Rise High, this is Why Not Me, a show about Kama'aina creators, entrepreneurs, and community leaders. Behind the scenes stories of how they got to where they are and the valuable lessons they learned along the way. I'm your host, Gabe Ame, and in this episode, we chat with Duane DeSoto, world longboard champion and founder of Nakamakai. Duane shares how his childhood upbringing on the beaches of Mākaha helped inspire his vision to create free ocean safety clinics for Hawaii's keiki.
What's up, brother Duane?
What's up, Gabe? How's it going, Bole?
Good, bro. Thanks for joining me on Why Not Me. Wanted to, talk about your nonprofit, Nakamakai, but talk a little bit about your backstory and how did the vision of Nakamakai even come to mind back in 2007, 2008?
The funny thing is thinking about how all the things that I used to think sucked in my life actually became all the experiences that showed me what life really was about. Yeah. So, when I was younger, we was on food stamps and we struggled. My mom and dad worked hard, but we still struggled. And there's a lot of times when I remember thinking, how come I no more this? And how come I no more that? And over time, got to become a professional surfer, travel all over the world. And as I was traveling all over the world, it dawned on me, like, yeah, how come you feeling sorry for yourself? Like, how come you think you had it so rough when actually you're the guy on the airplane flying back from Africa or Brazil right now? And when you're getting home, you're realizing, man, I've been blessed by all of those experiences. Having grown up in Mākaha, we might not have had money, but we had the incredible location. We had the people. We had the surf. We had uncles and aunties who always took care of me. And this is like, okay, you got to reverse this narrative that you keep throwing out. It's actually the opposite. And in that realization was like knowing that I was privileged actually to have grown up with people like Auntie Rel and Uncle Buff and all the Carolina boys, and all of that added up to something that actually most kids aren't getting here in Hawaii.
Okay.
Like if I did some research, and we're lucky if 30% of our kids know how to swim here in Hawaii. And that's a staggeringly bad number, considering that we're an island place and we're an island peoples surrounded by an incredible resource like the ocean. And this was like, okay, we have all of these resources here, and actually our babies are not taking advantage of it. They're not actually able to use these resources that are here.
So Nakamakai was your idea, your history, your background of growing up as a young boy on Mākaha Beach with all your uncles, aunties, enjoying the ocean. It's kind of like you wanted to bring Mākaha to everyone else in Hawaii, right?
Definitely. Like even till today, there's no place like Mākaha. Yeah. At 16 years old, I jumped on a plane and went to Europe for 6 weeks. Right when I got sponsored by Oxbow, and talk about realizing how alone you are. I'm alone here. I'm far away from home, and I don't have my dad, my mom. I don't have my structure that gives me my confidence. I gotta step it up now, but without having everybody right there readily available to help me. Yeah.
Outside
So
your
I felt
comfort zone,
vulnerable.
huh? Yeah.
Outside my comfort zone. It made me think too, like, oh, I really do have an incredible structure at home. That reflection just got deeper and deeper over the years, going, okay, even like Mākaha Beach, 9 years old, my parents let me bike down to the beach like I let my kids do now. But I know that everybody at the beach has got an eye on them. And everybody at the beach had an eye on me. I was being fed, I was protected, I was safe. Now, how come the rest of the island and the rest of the state doesn't have this kind of place,
Mm.
this kind of mentorship, this kind of safety net, um, this kind of knowledge, yeah, being shared, and we're having to be like, some places are just completely disconnected to the ancestral knowledge. So Nakamakai is like a microcosm of Mākaha being constantly moved around the island and shared even with the world.
So let's go back to, you've been a professional surfer since high school, and you've been on tour for, shoot, 20 plus years, right? And you're still on tour. You're probably what, in your late 20s, early 30s, and the vision of Nakamakai comes up, right? And so walk us through how did it get started?
Like the realization about just me personally, um, having had this mantra of like blaming other people for everything that was wrong in my life, and feeling sorry for myself, that didn't stop until I was like 26. I started realizing, okay, no way, I'm done with that narrative. I'm gonna be blessed. I'm gonna look at it from a different spectrum where everything actually is incredible. And I started thinking, wait a minute now, I actually owe my community. I actually owe my uncles and aunties who gave me all of that knowledge and that confidence and those gifts. I owe them that. Now that I know better, I got to find a way to return this. How do I return that? How do I make something like that that represents how blessed I am and where I'm from? It took about 6 years of thinking. I was thinking and thinking and thinking, like, what is it going to be? And finally, my daughter is in preschool at Punana Leokoai Ha'o, and they were celebrating their 10th annual Emalama Ike Kai. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Okay, we got to go help make the fundraiser, support the school. And I realized in the meetings, oh, Emalama Ike Kai, to care for the ocean, is happening in a park. There's no kai. Like, why? Why? How can you malama the kai and there's no actual interaction with the kai? And this is the 10th anniversary for the school. And so within a matter of, 5 or 6 months, I don't know what it was, we came up with what is the Ocean Clinic. Putting ideas that have been stirring and stirring and stirring in my mind, adding what Mary had, adding what Malia thought was appropriate. And we came up with basically what today, 90% of our Ocean Clinic is still the same. And
Mm.
that's the 5 stations based on, culture, environment, being in the ocean on a board, being in the canoe, and the mentorship, and all that comes in the in between. Yeah, all the nuances that come with it. We did it at Kaimana Beach Park. It was a fabulous success. At that point too, it's like, okay, now we did it. Now what? What does
Yeah.
this mean? Now we actually threw it in the water. We ran off of the school's insurance. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a nonprofit. It's just I just think of it as magic, because as long as we were determined to make it happen, as long as we were determined to make sure that the vision was gonna be realized,
Hmm.
the magic came. You know, yeah, I didn't know what a 50C3 was, 501c3 was. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know we needed insurance and permits. There's a tons of stuff I didn't know. All I knew is that this has to happen. This Nakamakai has to be a part of Keiki's lives.
Yeah.
I never ran a business, right? I was just a surfer who was running kind of my own business, as hodgepodge as that was. Some people in the beginning, I sounded like a kook. Why do we need that? What do you
Mm.
mean we need to create this ocean space? Like, even 2 years in, I was baffled. Like, how do you not see the vision? How do you not see the need? I realized about 6 years into Nakamakai, yeah, I get why people doubted it. When people came and experienced the Ocean Clinic, the light bulbs went on so easily. The ability to express how magical the experiences in the ocean are very difficult compared to when someone sees it for themselves and feels the energy, sees the keiki learning, but they don't even know they're learning, right? Now we're 12 years old. People call up and go, hey, I got 10 grand for your program and I love what you're doing for the keiki food program. Here's 10 grand. And it's like, that comes because we built the trust,
Yep.
that
Yep.
comes because we've gone the distance.
So what kind of advice would you tell someone who's kind of like you 12, 13 years ago, or had an idea, had a vision, wanted to do something, but wasn't as educated as they felt, or didn't feel as confident that they knew everything? What kind of advice would you give them?
The advice I'd give to someone that wants to start something is use the knowledge you do know as your source of power. And on the process, learn what you don't know. And as it comes up to you and you are hit with these hurdles, that is your kupuna talking to you, telling you that, oh, this is your next class. This is the next point of knowledge that you need to gain to continue moving forward. But if you don't start off with what you do know and what you can be confident in, because that is your strength, then you're just going to sit in one perpetual circle of getting nothing done. You got to know that the stuff you do know is your solid base.
So you're over 12 years in, right? And so you're doing ocean clinics every month, different spots. You've also got your Alakai leadership program for the teenagers. Great program. 2020 hits, and now we're dealing with coronavirus, and obviously we cannot be doing beach clinics. So what is Nakamakai doing to pivot during this time, or change things up?
What we've been doing lately to sort of keep our actions going, one of them is we started working with the Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center to do keiki feeding food projects. The food insecurity situation here on the west side, but also in the island, has existed for a while, for a long time, but it hasn't been in our face. Children who depend on the Department of Education breakfast and lunches is a very real issue. And COVID-19 brought that blasting in everybody's face. As soon as they said kids aren't going to go to school, I realized right away that that's a problem. I was one of those kids who was dependent on free lunch, free breakfast from kindergarten through 6th grade at Mākaha Elementary. Called up Alicia Higa over at Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center. Said, what are you guys doing? Because I know they do food insecurity programs all the time.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we're ramping up. You want to jump in with us? I'm like, I'm in. Whatever I got to do, let's figure this out together. I want to help. I've been just on some Instagrams and some news stuff. We pulled 30 grand off. 1,000 breakfasts, 1,000 lunches a day. So each keiki gets a hot breakfast, hot lunch, and a fresh bag of produce. Another program we're doing is with our Alakai program, our 20 keiki who are in that. That's our mentorship program that is ongoing throughout the year. And those Alakai come back and actually volunteer at Nakamakai. What we did was I talked to Pohaku Stone about creating a video series on how to shape an alaya board. And so we're going to provide our Alakai with self-quarantining, self-distancing learning, where each of them are going to get a blank from Pohaku Stone. They're going to document it through videos and photos, and each keiki is going to have their own alaya that they shape while they watch Pohaku Stone teach them how to do it. I got to credit my wife, Malia. She came up with that one and was like, you know what, ask Pohaku what's up. I'm like, yep.
You brought up your wife Malia a few times, and I know Malia, and she's definitely a mana wahine, and she's a go-getter, and she gets stuff done. How is having her as your sounding board? How has that been for you in your growth as from a professional surfer to, running a nonprofit?
I always think of it simple. I don't know everything. So I definitely want to learn about something from the people who do know it. But I also need someone like Malia to give me like her perspective. Like her perspective comes from such a different world that when she tells me things, it really melts the two sides together. The real thing about that though is that I have to be able to hear that it's not a good idea. I gotta handle rejection, I guess. Drop my ego and say, oh, okay, wow. I mean, you could have been more gentle about how you just shut down my next brilliant idea, babe. And
Yeah.
so it is like a total partnership, with her.
Me knowing you for so long and Malia for so long, it sounds like she's, like you said, she's the one that's telling you to go bigger. Like, hey, why not? Why not me? Right? And sometimes we need that little push, that little someone in the back of your ear telling you go for it. You know, I sense now that you're 12 years in, is running a nonprofit. Like for you, once you have a vision of what we can do, like I can come up with a solution, you know, and it's like boom, 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 make some moves, right? It's obvious you got the confidence now that you can do that. So talk about just you from the beginning 12 years ago when you had an idea and how slow it was to now, once you see a problem, you're ready to make a move, and that confidence you build along the way.
So even in my position, to be able to make that move to where, you know, maybe food insecurity isn't Nakamaka's main mission, that comes from also having a structure around me, like a base of people who trust me, who trust that what we're doing is good, even though you might not completely understand it at first. And I regard that carefully. You know, I think of that every time I make a decision, that the consequences goes far beyond myself. That liability, right, so to say, is also the source of how I feel confident to go ahead and holomua through ideas that might not exactly be understood at first.
Yeah, kind of like you said, everyone's got their blind spots, and especially when you're young and you don't really have the experience, you probably don't have the best judgment. And through more experiences, you sharpen your judgment, and then you can, you know, you're better prepared for how to react in the future. Over time, you built that credibility and trust, and I think there's something to be said about having a body of work. Once you have a body of work, you have a track record. Like, hey, Duane's a good brother, you know, and I know him. He's solid, but part of that is building up that body of work. The young ones going out there, it's like the only way to build a body of work is to start, right? To start, you know, start small. So,
Well, think about this, Gabe. At the start of where I am, I was a surfer. That's pretty hard to build confidence in a surfer. That was something I kept in my mind. I'm coming at this approach, and I'm a surfer to these people. You know, how do I build their confidence? How do I let them know what's really going on inside here? You know, that I need to adopt thinking through things from different perspectives too. Yeah, you gotta realize that not everybody is supposed to like what you're doing, because it would bum me out. Like it would bum me out, and Malia would have to remind me, Duane, this is your passion, not their passion.
all right, hey, transitioning over to the part of the
Yeah,
show where we bust out one of the old Instagram posts. This is from the Kamakai. So tell me about what's going on here in this post.
we were able to take our Alacai program to Buzios, Brazil. And while we were there, my buddy Phil Rasman, who's a two-time world longboard champion, and so he had met this Brazilian couple. They were like, "Oh, we want to do Nakamakai. We want to support it." So they were supporting Nakamakai from afar. And then I said, why don't we bring Nakamakai to Brazil? She's like, "Oh, that's a beautiful idea. What do you need to do that?" I was like, let's bring the Alaka'i program. They can get an international experience, and we can bring all of our stuff over there and do a Nakamakai Ocean Clinic. All the different groups we were meeting all took different pieces of what we brought and implemented it into their daily lives. Whether it was getting their children to be more helpful in daily activities, to coming together and doing a pule before we start things.
Last part of the show, we got a speed round challenge. Ask you a series of questions. First thing pops in your head, just go for it, all right? You ready? Last movie you watched.
Star Wars Episode 5.
Last place you ordered takeout from.
Roy's in Colina.
Favorite song to sing in the car.
Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Iz.
If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Duka Hanamoku.
What advice would you give to a Hawaii high school, college kid trying to figure out in the world today? What advice?
Be your best you. Honor yourself. Don't forget who you are. Don't be who you're not. Be the best you.
That's advice you live by, man. With Nakamakai and the things you're doing, that's bringing out the best out of you, and we all notice it. We appreciate it. When I first started Rise High, kind of like what you said, was not everyone's gonna understand it by talking about it, but you just gotta do it. And one of the first person I called on was you. Appreciate you and for all you do, brother.
You too, Gabe. Keep sharing those stories.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Duane. Hey, best of luck out there. Good luck with the house projects.
Rise high, Ohana. Ahui ho.